Okay, so I get asked quite a bit, should I buy a Sabertrio or should I buy an Imperial Workshop? Luckily I got both of them, so I can give you some of the things that I've learned about having both, some of the pros and cons to both of them. Honestly, I don't think you're gonna get a bad Saber with whichever one that you get, but there are definitely pros and cons to both of them, so I figured I'd try and help some people learn which one might be the better one. If you want to spend a little bit more and get a Sabertrio, or save a little bit more and get an Imperial Workshop. Okay, so first off, I want to start by saying Sabertrios kind of tend to start around 500. Once you add shipping and you do one or two features, you're going to average around 600 on average. You might be able to find a used one in your area for about 500 roughly, but generally speaking, 5 to 6 is kind of what they're going for. Imperial Workshops, this one I think was 170 if I remember correctly, and my ARC was 240. And that's kind of a pretty good average of what Imperial Workshop are. They do have a few that get to be about 400 or 500, but on average, most of them are 170. I think they actually even they even have one that's 160, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, that 160, 170 to 250 is kind of their average. So this is significantly cheaper. It's something to keep in mind. You can get 2 Imperial Workshops for the price of 1 Sabertrio. That is a big factor. So just keep that in mind. Okay, first off, let's just talk about the way they look, because when you see one, the very first thing that you see about it is the way it looks. Both of them are really good in a lot of aspects. Let's start with the Sabertrio though. Sabertrio looks like a lightsaber. It looks exactly like what you would expect to see a lightsaber in Star Wars. I do have another Sabertrio, which I'll be showing a little bit later, but for now, I'll just show you this one. This looks like what you expect it to look like. Imperial Workshop has a very, very, very good look. They look very similar to what you would expect to see it in Star Wars. But one big thing, the charging port. Charging port is exposed on an Imperial Workshop. So it does kind of detract from the realistic look just a little bit. It's not a bad thing that it is exposed, but it is exposed and some people won't like that. I personally do prefer how Sabertrio, in order to charge it, it's inside so you don't see it at all. That is also a bad part though, because in order to charge this, you have to take the pommel off, pull out the chassis a little bit, and plug it in. Not super hard, but it is something you have to do. Every time I start talking, he has to talk. Yes? Really? Sorry about that. Without fail, anytime I start talking, my cat has to start talking. Movies on, TV's on, video games on, music, doesn't matter, he's fine. If I start talking, he has to. Anyways, let's get back into this. The finish on both of them, keeping with how they look, the finish is great. Sabertrio is a little bit higher quality. The black that is on here is a little bit more tough. It's a little bit more just durable. The black that is on here, well, this one's all weathered. So you can see how weathered it is. The black looked pretty similar to how this looks. Maybe not quite as high quality, but still very good. This one though, I weathered. I've thought about weathering this one, but I just can't bring myself to fully scuff up Sabertrio. Maybe eventually I'll get to weathering this one. I do kind of want to, but we'll see. Anyways, they're both very good in the finish and how they look. But the Sabertrio, just something about it visually just kind of stands out just a little bit more. The visuals of this just have a little bit more of a authentic kind of look. Not that the Imperial Workshop are bad, they are not. But for me personally, the exposed charging port really does kind of detract from the authenticity to how they look. Other than that, they do look pretty good though. Okay, so now we've kind of gone over how they look a little bit. Both of them pretty good. I personally prefer the Sabertrio a little bit more, but they both look very, very good. How do they feel? Well, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, Sabertrio, hands down, feels better. Everything about the Sabertrio just feels better. It feels like what you would expect a lightsaber to feel like. Imperial Workshop feel pretty good. This one actually feels better than my other one. I have an ARC, which you'll be seeing in a moment. I actually kind of don't really like the way the ARC feels, which I'll get into that in a moment, but there's some good things about the ARC. This one feels better than the ARC, but when I pick up the Sabertrio, it just feels better. It's got more weight to it. It's got a more solid feeling. I feel like if I drop this, I'm not gonna be worried about breaking. Where if I drop this, it might be okay, it might not. That's kind of what it feels like. And I like having the safety of feeling like if I drop this, oh well, I don't want to drop it, but if I did, oh well. So feeling, I'm gonna go Sabertrio as well. The Imperial Workshops are very good, but this just feels a little bit more authentic. Just something I personally prefer. Okay, so now I got my two other lightsabers. This is my Sabertrio Aaron, and this is my Imperial Workshop Arc, or Arc 2, I think it's called. I think it's called the Arc 2. Anyways, the Arc. So, I got the blades in them. Figured you want to see what they look like turned on, right? That's kind of part of the point. Actually, I'd probably say the main point of a lightsaber is when you see the actual lightsaber. I want to point something out about this one though. You see the exposed kyber crystal? Typically, on lightsabers that have an exposed kyber crystal, you're going to spend quite a bit more money to get a feature such as that. This one I think was $240 if I remember correctly, and you have an exposed kyber crystal that lights up when you turn it on. If Sabertrio was to do something like an exposed kyber crystal, which they don't even have at the moment, but if they did, it would be more than what a normal Sabertrio is already to begin with. And most brands that do an exposed kyber crystal, they are already quite a bit more money. So Imperial Workshop has some cool features for significantly less than what some other brands would offer. Lights up, changes colors when you change the font. You'll see it in a moment. Let's turn them on though. So, turn on Sabertrio. Boom, it's on. And this is one of my favorite sounds too. It's just really, really soft, smooth sound. But when you swing it, it just has this kind of like calming sound to it. Keep in mind, I have the volume kind of low on this one. I think it's at 6 right now, 6 out of 10. So it is a bit quieter than the other ones at the moment, but that's adjustable. I just currently have it lower. Just want to keep that in mind. Let's turn on the Arc. And I have it on a font that's got a really slow ignition. Both of them have different fonts that you can change whenever you want. They both have that. It's awesome. This one though, if you notice how it's kind of flashing a little bit, it's not supposed to do that. This Sabertrio, this Imperial Workshop, specifically this one. Let's turn this off real quick. I've been having a few issues with this one. You notice how the sound is kind of crackling? Not a left hand, so swinging left-handed probably doesn't look very good, but I'm having a few issues with this one, specifically this one. I've contacted Imperial Workshop and I haven't heard anything back from them. It's a cheaper brand, so that's not a big deal, but it is something to note. Because if you have any issue with the Sabertrio, you reach out to them, they almost immediately respond and tell you, hey, it's this, do this. Or if you're under warranty, they do everything they can to actually get it fixed. I've actually even read some stories about people getting their Sabertrios fixed well out of warranty. Sabertrio, hands down, is probably the best in customer service out of any lightsaber brand, period. Not just out of these two, but just period. Their customer service is top notch. And it kind of sucks because I like this one, but the sound is acting up a little bit right now. It's cracking, it's popping a little bit. And you notice it's flashing a little bit when it's not supposed to. I cannot figure out what's wrong with it. I've looked on forums and I can't figure it out. But it is what it is. Maybe one day Imperial Workshop will get back to me and let me know, like, hey, it's this, you just gotta do this and fix it. But we'll see. But I mentioned the kyber crystal. Let's check this out real quick. Here's the kyber crystal. You change the color on this one, the kyber crystal changes. And since we're talking about changing colors, let me just show you how you change a color on an Imperial Workshop. Because some people want to know, because that's a big factor they want. They want it to be quick and simple, so I figured I'll show you how to change colors on both of these. Pretty easy on both. But for this one, you hold it upside down, hold the button in, and you spin it a few times.
Color change active.
Now it's allowing me to change what color I want. You go sideways, you rotate it, you pick what color you want. Let's just do this.
Color selected.
You save it, and now it's saved. The kyber crystal has changed color. Now when I turn this one off, this is a big plus for this one. When I turn this one off, I mean all the way off. Go into sleep mode, take the battery out, whatever, doesn't matter. All the way off, this color is saved. Sabertrio's colors do not save when you fully turn them off. If you turn the blade off, but the Saber is still powered, it has that color saved. But the second you put it into deep sleep mode or you take the battery out or anything, it resets those colors. So I'd say that's actually a plus for Imperial Workshop. Because now when I turn it back on, this color is saved. If I put this into sleep mode, or deep sleep mode I should say, this color is still saved. This is a Darth Maul font, so I should probably put it back on red, but whatever. Come on. It's the other thing. You see how long it takes me to turn this off? Let me get both real quick. Turn them both on. Very similar color right now too. To turn this one off, you hold it for like half a second and it turns off. To turn this one off, it takes that long for it to actually turn it off. It is much more responsive on the Sabertrio. You are spending more money, so you would kind of hope it would be more responsive, but that is something to keep in mind. If that doesn't matter to you, then it doesn't matter. To me, I like the fact that I can turn it on when I want, and when I want to turn it off, it's off. This one, I can turn it on when I want. That's not really the issue. Now, it is on a slower ignition font. Normally it ignites much quicker. That's just this font, but whatever. Turn it on really quickly, but when I want to turn it off right now. It's like, what, 2-3 seconds? Like, it's kind of annoying. Big win for Sabertrio. But let me grab my other Imperial Workshop, because as you can tell, this one is having some issues right now. I don't want to make that detract from Imperial Workshop as a whole, so I'm going to grab the other one and put the blade in it. Okay, so I have my other Imperial Workshop, my Vega. I'm going to be doing the rest of the video on Imperial Workshop sides with the Vega, because, like I said, that one is having issues. I don't want that to detract from the brand as a whole. It is something to keep in mind. I have had an issue with Imperial Workshop already, and they haven't responded back to me, and just keep that in mind. The rest of the video is going to be on this. But let's turn this one on.
Powering on.
So it only takes about a second to fully power on, and then same thing when I want to ignite it. Pretty quickly, it ignites really quickly. I think my volume is a little bit lower on this one, kind of like my Aaron as well. So just keep that in mind. It can go louder, but it's lower at the moment. But they both have smooth swing very, very well. But you notice how it kind of triggers a little bit easier on this one for clashing. I don't always want it to trigger for a clash when I'm not clashing. My Sabertrio, it's not triggering a clash. Imperial Workshop, I can trigger a clash very easy on this one, which can actually be kind of a good thing if you want that. But I like the fact that this one only triggers a clash when I want it to. Say maybe very rarely it does it by accident. This one, I'm having trouble triggering it while I'm swinging right now, what I'm trying to do, but you get the point. It triggers very, very easily. For this one, I'm trying to trigger it by accident, and it's not doing it. You have to actually hit something to trigger a clash on this one. This one, excuse me, dying. This one you don't have to hit anything. You just make a jerking motion and it triggers it. But win for Sabertrio. However, also a win for Imperial Workshop if you want that. If you're trying to do some dueling videos and you want easy triggers, this one does it as well. So, kind of win for both, actually. Odd, but yeah. Okay, so I showed you how to change the color on Imperial Workshop a little bit ago. Now I'm going to show you how to change the color on Sabertrio. My opinion is just as easy, just a totally different way. So let's turn it on. Gotta have it on for that. And then you hold the auxiliary button and you hold the power button. This one has an auxiliary button, which makes things way easier. You're getting into that in a moment. But for this one, you hold both.
Spectrum.
When it says Spectrum, now you can rotate it like this. Change it to whatever color you want. Let's get a blue. Possibly my favorite color lightsaber is blue. Because, I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi used a blue, and Kenobi is my namesake, so I have to take it. But that's how easy it is to change the color on this one. You just hold the auxiliary button and the ignition button, or power button, I guess. And you hold them both for like only about half a second, it's not that long. And then you just rotate it to whatever one you want. And then when you want one, you just tap the ignition or power button again and it saves it. It will save it when you turn it off like this, when you turn the blade off, but the Sabertrio itself is still on, so it has it saved for this. So when I turn it on again, it's there, turn it off, it's gone. But when this goes into deep sleep mode, it does not save that color. So in that sense, the Imperial Workshop has a big win, because the Imperial Workshop saves that color when it goes into deep sleep mode. This doesn't. Something to keep in mind. So I mentioned the auxiliary button. The auxiliary button on this one is a huge, huge, huge win in something else. So when you want to change the sound font, you hold the auxiliary button.
Sound bank selection.
Sound bank selection. Shotel was the font that I'm on right now. I can press the auxiliary button or the power button to go up or down in the sound fonts. Shatterpoint. Pause. If I want to go back down, press the auxiliary. Back to Shatterpoint. You get the idea.
Ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
This one's kind of cool sound font, so I'll use this one. When I want to select a sound font, I hold it.
I thought not.
And now
Story the Jedi could tell you.
that sound font is now selected. So I turn it on. I really love that ignition. And now I have this sound font. Now it saves that sound font even when I go into deep sleep mode. The color doesn't change when I go into deep sleep mode. Whatever the color is on that sound font saves that sound font, but whatever sound font I have selected stays. They both do that. Whatever one you have it on when you put it into deep sleep, it stays that sound font. But yeah, that's how you change the sound fonts on Sabertrio. Pretty easy. Just cycle up and down between the two buttons. When you want one, you select it, and then you got it. And that's why the auxiliary button is so much better on this one. I'll show you how you change the sound fonts on Imperial Workshop. It's a little different. Okay, so to change the sound font on Imperial Workshop, let's turn it on real quick. I'm on, here's my sound font. I want to change it, let's change it. So let's turn this off. Takes a while to turn off, again, annoying. By the way, they both have gesture controls when you spin it. If you notice a few times when I spin them, they turn on or off. The Sabertrio is much less sensitive. This one is much more sensitive. So I tend to accidentally turn this one on sometimes when I don't mean to. Just keep that in mind. But you want to change the sound font, all right? Let's hold this button. Takes a little while, but not too long. That's how you go up in a sound font. If you want to go down in the sound font, you hold it for much less time and then you have to let go.
You will take the threat.
I tend to hold it for about a second or two and then you let go. So let's go up.
This is just the beginning.
And sometimes it's not always accurate when you hold it. Notice how it was a different sound font. If you hold it non-stop until it goes to the next one, it will always do that. But if you hold it to go back down, you hold it for like a second or two. Sometimes it goes down, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're not holding it long enough. So it's hard to tell if you're actually going down or not until you get to it. So you might be wasting a couple of seconds, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it's just annoying more than anything. Where on the Sabertrio, I can rapid press. If I'm at like sound font number 2, and I want to get to number 10, I can just go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just that quick. This one, you have to hold.
Hello there.
I'm at the next one. Hold again. I'm at the next one. Hold again.
Your destiny lies with me.
And I'm at the next one. It's just much quicker to change them on the Sabertrio because of the way it works with the auxiliary system. This one doesn't have that, so you can still go up and down in both of them. This one, sometimes you might accidentally mess up when you're trying to go down, and going up takes a long time. The Sabertrio, you can go up or down as fast as you want. As soon as you get one, you hold the ignition button for like a second, and then you're on it. So that's a big win for Sabertrio. However, didn't even turn on that time. That's part of what I was talking about. Anyways, that's a big win for Sabertrio. However, Imperial Workshop, still very functional. You can still do it. It's just a little bit more finicky. I've been talking a lot of good points for the Sabertrio and a lot of bad points for the Imperial Workshop. Yes, meow. I know. I talk, he talks. A lot of good points for Sabertrio, a lot of bad points for Imperial Workshop. Honestly, though, Imperial Workshop, this is a lot less money. Drastically less. This is half the price or almost a third of the price, depending on what model you get of the Sabertrio. And you're still getting a NeoPixel for not a lot of money. So Imperial Workshop is really good options. All the things that I am saying that are negative about the Imperial Workshop are really kind of small things, actually. The Sabertrio is much higher end, so you expect it to be a little bit more refined. But if this was like the best of the best, let's say Sabertrio didn't exist, let's say Vader's Vault didn't exist, or any of the super, super high-end ones, Sabertrio is actually like in the middle range. There's some that are ridiculously expensive. Let's say none of those existed and this was the best thing you could get, I would be more than happy with this. So even though I've been saying a lot of pros about the Sabertrio, it's not that this is bad. The Sabertrio is just significantly more expensive and has a little bit more refinement, which I would expect from something that is a lot more money. So I'm a car guy. If you know anything about cars, think of like a Subaru WRX. It's a really good car, spending $30,000 to $40,000 on it. It's not perfect, you know, the interior is not luxury or anything, but it's a great car, it's a sports car, rally car, whatever you want to call it, it's fun. This is WRX. This is like a brand new Porsche 911. It's $100,000 and it's much better because you're spending a lot more money. You're spending about 3 times the price almost, actually, roughly. But it doesn't mean that the Subaru WRX is bad. The Porsche is just a lot more money. You're gonna be getting more refinement with it. So that's kind of how I stand on the two of them as far as quality goes. This is a little bit better. This is a great option. So which one should you get? Hard to say, really. If you want to spend a little bit more money and get a little bit higher quality product, you will be getting a higher quality product with this. And honestly, I don't think you will regret it. You want to save money, or let's say you want to buy 2 of them, because if you buy 2 of these, you can actually put it together and you can make double-sided lightsaber, which you can do with this one, but you have to buy 2 as well. Anyways, let's say you want to buy 2 of these for the price of this. You now have a double-bladed lightsaber for the price of 1 Sabertrio. That's hard to complain about. Or let's just say you want to buy one for you and buy one as a gift for like Christmas or birthday. Or you just want to buy 2 for yourself of different styles. You can buy 2 of these for the price of 1 of these, and you're still getting a great option. So which one should you get? It's hard to say. It's really going to be up to you. With that being said, though, I think I'm going to close out the video by showing you just a couple of my favorite sound fonts of both of them. Keep in mind, you can change sound fonts on both. On Sabertrio, you can change sound fonts. On Imperial Workshop, you can change sound fonts. So I'm just going to show you some of the sound fonts, some of my favorite ones between the 2 of them, and close it out from there.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
I already showed you this one, I gotta show it again. I just love the sound font. That ignition is so cool. The way it turns from white, and then it's like kind of like a flashing white into a red when you turn it off. Kind of like backwards. Love that sound font. This is one of my favorite sounds on the Sabertrio. I love this sound. Okay, so that's kind of cool, but wait until you swing it. It's just this really cool sound. But there's a really aggressive sound on this one I want to show you. This is called Crystal Focus and has probably the most aggressive sound on a lightsaber I've ever heard. It just sounds mean. I love that sound font. And it's kind of cool with the orange color too. Now, yeah, you can change it, but just the default orange just kind of works with that sound. Don't really have a lot of space here, so I can't do a lot of swinging. That's why it's basically just 1 forward and 1 backwards, but yeah. All right, show you some more sound fonts.
Ancient Prophecies.
Ancient Prophecies has a super cool ignition. It's not going to be done justice in daylight, but you can get the idea. At nighttime though, this one's awesome. Let's do it this way. That's such a cool ignition. Pretty mean sound too. And when I turn it off, look right in this area when I turn it off. It's really cool when you turn it off. Kind of like the power is turning down. Not like it's an instantaneous off, but going down. Just a really, really cool feature on that sound font. Got 1 or 2 more on this one I want to show you.
It's a Sith legend.
Let's just show this one again. I love this ignition. That white and then into that red and that ominous sound. Just love this ignition. Don't really have a whole lot of room here, so can't do a whole lot, but yeah. That way it turns off too.
This is General Kenobi.
Gotta do Kenobi. Just gotta.
Hello there.
Love how it's got like a smart ass remark whenever you turn it on or turn it off. It cycles between a couple different ones, but when you turn it off, turn it off or turn it on, there's a good chance that it's gonna do one of them.
Our guests have arrived.
How can you complain with that? And I love that sound. Just really, really smooth and calming sound. And when you turn it off,
There's never time to limber up.
you get a little Obi-Wan one-liner. Doesn't always trigger, so it's kind of like a mystery if it will or not, and it cycles between different ones, so it's just kind of cool. So I said I was going to do the rest of the video on Imperial Workshop side with the Vega, not realizing that my battery was very, very low. So I'm going to finish it out with the Arc, or Arc 2.0, because I want to show you a couple sound fonts on the Imperial Workshop side. I do apologize if you get some of the cracking and popping in this one. I've looked at the speaker, there's no tears in the cone. I don't know what's triggering it. So if it happens, try to ignore that if you can, but it is also something to keep in mind on Imperial Workshop that things like that can happen. Keep that in mind. Check out some of the sound fonts though.
Powering on.
It is pretty cool how the Kyber crystal lights up with whatever color the blade is. Woo! You see how it just changed colors like that? That's kind of what I mean. There's some issues with this one, and I wish it wasn't the case. There's some issues with this one. I don't have any issues like that on my Vega. Keep that in mind. And my Vega, I've actually kind of abused, and it's been fine. And I don't abuse this one and have issues. So it might just be a weird random one-off. I'm not really quite sure. But let's check out some of the sound fonts. There's like 2 or 3 that I really want to show you on this one.
Luke Skywalker.
Gotta do Luke, right? Why not? And it's just a cool shade of green. Luke Skywalker green, or whatever it was I said earlier. Cool sound too. And you notice it did crackle a little bit, not too much. Hopefully it won't be crackling too much when we go through the other ones, but if it does, I'm sorry.
Codex of Light.
Codex of Light. This is a pretty cool ignition. It's got a little bit of green, and then it goes up into white, and it's got this kind of, I don't want to say unstable, because it has a different effect than unstable ones, but it's kind of like that. It's more like a really fast fluttering, but it's got this really weird sound too. It sounds very Star Wars, but not lightsaber. I don't know how to explain the sound, but I like it. Even though it's not a traditional lightsaber sound, I do like it. Serenity is really cool as well. The way it's got this kind of like flickering, fluttering, and then it goes. Daytime's not really doing it justice, but at nighttime, it's got this weird like light source that you can't quite tell what it is, and then once it ignites, then you realize it's a lightsaber. At nighttime, that ignition is really cool. Mildly aggressive sound, not too aggressive, but a little bit. Cool sound. Purple Kyber crystal, it doesn't hurt either.
Hatred.
Just aggressive. Just pure aggressive. This isn't Kylo Ren's sound, but it reminds me. It's got that same type of attitude. The unstable, the aggressive sound, the color. Kind of reminds me of the Kylo Ren sound font. There's one specific sound font that I need to show. I love it.
As a cunning warrior,
You were the chosen one!
and he was a good friend.
You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
The most depressing sound font that I have, but I love it. Obi-Wan. I have to. Love this sound font. It is what I expect. What I expect from an Obi-Wan Kenobi sound font. It is that smooth sound. This one's a little bit more aggressive than most Obi-Wan sound fonts, but that's okay. Still a generally smooth sound. It is the right shade of blue. And that little sound clip that you get when you turn it on is just depressing. But Obi-Wan's story is depressing. I'm sorry. It is. Everyone always says how depressing Anakin's life is. No. Look at Obi-Wan's life. It's depressing. But even though it's relatively simple, this is probably my favorite sound font on my Imperial Workshop. Doesn't hurt that it's Obi-Wan Kenobi, just everything about it. I love the sound font. hot.